Hi there, James Elvery here from Wanaka, New Zealand. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Race Ranger. This is an introductory pitch video for potential new investors who may be interested in investing as part of our current seed funding round. So let's get into it. Firstly, I'll start with some background. Indoor cycling amongst recreational and competitive cyclists and triathletes is not a new phenomenon, but connecting the bike to a virtual training platform such as Zwift, Rouvy or Full Gas is relatively new. Basically, riders are cycling at home on their bike whilst connected to the internet and logged into a cycling computer game on a screen in front of them. They can ride with their friends and the general public. Zwift regularly has over 20,000 riders on this platform at any one time, so there is a large and growing market there. Secondly, motorbikes are having a negative effect on pro cycling racing. In races like the Tour de France, riders are obviously allowed to ride in groups and draft off each other, but often there could be as many as 50 motorbikes scattered along the racecourse, intermingling with the riders. They're doing jobs like clearing the course, carrying a cameraman, or maybe supplying spare wheels to the riders. The problem is that these motorbikes provide a substantial draft or slipstreaming effect to any riders that are behind them. This helps open gaps which might not have opened and also closes them down, which is having a negative and unfair effect on the sport. It's something that riders, teams, commentators and fans, the whole sport, complains about, but hasn't yet been addressed with technology. We'll come back to these first 2 points in a couple of minutes. But where we've started with Race Ranger, and this is what we've become known for, is for addressing the problem of drafting in long distance triathlons, such as Ironmans. Basically, there's a rule that athletes must keep a set distance, usually 12 or 20 meters behind the rider ahead of them. This is to stop them from gaining a benefit from the draft effect, where the lead rider is breaking the wind, making it easier for the following rider. The sport is supposed to be a solo, individual effort against the course and the elements, with no working together. Time penalties are given out for breaking this rule, and it's policed by referees on the back of motorbikes guessing the following distances, and the athletes are also guessing. The referees can't be everywhere on the course, and the athletes can hear them coming anyway. The solution we've developed is Race Ranger. Each athlete in a race is given 2 units to attach to their bikes, one at the front and one at the rear. The rear devices have 3 lights which change colour to show the following rider how close they are. This technology is now in use in professional triathlon events, and I've got a short video which shows them in use in Ibiza, Spain at the PTO European Open in May this year, along with feedback from athletes, media and race officials.
All right, it's the Race Ranger at a major championship for the first time. As one of the gun swimmers, how much is this going to change your race?
Yeah, I hope it has a really positive impact on the race. Obviously, we all want fair, clean racing, no drafting. And I've kind of always believed that a big part of drafting is, it's hard to know what 12 metres at 40k an hour on the road or 20 metres actually looks like.
Player of the day in that race, congratulations go to the Kiwis behind Race Ranger.
And I would say the biggest winner, in my opinion, of the weekend was Race Ranger. I'm not trying to get a sponsor plug or anything right here. We saw the most fair racing we have ever seen in the history of our sport with Race Ranger.
As a hit out in it was certainly its biggest audition to date. Race Ranger was an overwhelming success.
I think the whole idea and the concept is really positive, and it was great to finally try it out in person. I've seen some videos of it being used in races, and I think it actually worked out pretty well out there. Of course, you can always refine the system so that we don't have to ride with a huge bulky item on our bike, but that's like the second stage, I guess. And also it was really easy for me to gauge the distance where I was. So yeah, I was really positively surprised.
Let's have it on every bloody race we ever have. The athletes know exactly where they stand. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, seriously.
Were there any penalties in the pros? Any leads today?
None at all, because as soon as they get in the zone, they back off.
Yeah, awesome.
They are brilliant.
Thanks mate, that's You were the lead bike
I was
referee.
chief bike, yeah.
Chief official.
So I went out with the lead guys, and I had 3 others on the men,
Yep.
and we had 2 on the women. And I'm not aware of any penalties on any of the elite. Seriously, having a flashing light that changes colour, the pros absolutely know where the elite absolutely know where they stand, and they were backing off, or they were going through on the overtake.
Right.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Did you see it not work at all?
Nope.
Cool.
Nope. Didn't catch it. Didn't see anything where it wasn't working the way I was expecting it to work.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Alf. Cheers.
We have another video with more feedback from that event, which we're happy to share with anyone who might be interested. So, to date, Race Ranger has been used in 7 elite level professional races, with the last 3 being paid events, where the event has paid us to deliver the service. We're now looking at scaling this up to be able to serve basically any professional race in the world in 2024. We're working with World Triathlon, which is the international governing body of the sport, to integrate Race Ranger into the competition rules, so that it's clear to both athletes and officials how it will be used in future. This process should be completed by September this year. World Triathlon are very keen to use the system in the 2024 Paris Paralympics, where the athletes are not allowed to draft. These top-level and professional-only events are a great starting point and help us to gain acceptance of the wider sport, but ultimately won't make us a lot of money. To get there, we need to be used by the masses, the amateur or age group athletes, as they are known in the sport. These are the recreational participants with normal lives who do triathlon as a hobby. And from 2025, after a season or 2 of pro use, we'll be ready to scale up and deliver to these much larger fields of up to 3,500 athletes per event. And there are lots of these happening each weekend in the Northern Hemisphere from April through to October. The business model is hardware as a service. Initially at least, we will travel from event to event with a delivery team delivering the service at 1 event per weekend. This is the same model operated at these events currently by timing services companies, and in fact we see these companies as the logical service provider down the track once we've proven the system and ironed out the delivery. So a quick look at the size of the market. World Triathlon estimate that there are around 25 million people doing some sort of triathlon around the world each year. If we zero in on the tip of that triangle, this represents the 600,000 athletes competing in the more serious, longer distance events. And these are the athletes most likely to benefit from Race Ranger due to the nature of their courses. The tip of that triangle represents the 285,000 people who enter Ironman branded events each year. And this company, Ironman, is our first major target customer for this age group service. So of these 285,000 athletes, there are an average of 2,450 at each Ironman event across the full Ironman and the half or Ironman 70.3 distances. The numbers are growing and there's a backlog of demand following COVID as athlete entries were deferred to future events, which are now fully back up and running. The average entry fee these athletes are paying is $530 per race. Our business model is to charge the event a per athlete fee, which they will add on to the athlete's entry fees. They may choose to absorb some of that cost or actually add a markup on top of our charge. This is an affluent, type A, tech-savvy demographic. We've conducted over 50 interviews with amateur athletes from all over the world of all ages and experience levels, and we've heard loud and clear that drafting is their #1 pain point on race day, and they're prepared to pay a little extra to have Race Ranger as part of their experience at these events. We're also working on a live tracking service. Currently this is done off the ankle timing chips, but the issue is that this only gives a spectator an update when the athlete goes over a timing map, and these might be up to 30 minutes apart along the course. We'll be able to gather live data and feed that to the internet, so the spectator will have a real-time pinpoint location of where their athlete is on the course. It's only for the bike course, but this is where the spectators have the most trouble tracking their athletes, and it's when they really want to know where they are. We're also going to go after the issue I described at the start around motorbikes and pro cycling. With the hardware we've already built, we believe we're 80% of the way to having a solution to this issue. And while this in itself, as a pro-only service, is a fairly small market, once we get our devices on the bikes of the pro peloton, there's a lot of other cool stuff we can do. we're already capturing the rider order and separation information. With the live tracking infrastructure we're currently developing, we will have a way to listen for this data and feed it to the internet. Once we do that, we can use that new info to enhance the broadcast with some new and more accurate on-screen graphics. But the really cool opportunity we see is to feed that on-road, real-world race position data into those virtual platforms like Zwift or Rouvy, and to do this live in real time. So you're on your trainer at home like this, and instead of logging into your weekly ride with your mates, you now log into the last 2 hours of a stage of the Tour de France as it's happening in real time. Your power would be baselined against the riders around you based on a common measure called an FTP fitness test. So you'll be able to keep up with the pro athletes, provided you put in a reasonable level of effort. We can then imagine further down the track capturing the audio from inside that professional real-world bunch and feeding that into the rider at home's headphones. The rider feels like they're in the Tour de France, witnessing cycling history firsthand as it happens in front of them, with their heart rate at 170 beats per minute, all from their garage in Palmerston North. This is a long-term vision, but we can see a path to get there through the obvious problem of the motorbike drafting. So we're currently raising our seed funding round. We're looking for $1 million on a $3.5 million pre-money valuation. To date, we've raised approximately $280,000 from existing investors. There's obviously some details that have been left out of this pitch, but we'd be happy to go much deeper with anyone who's interested in investing either now or in the future. Thanks very much.